Hey guys, it's Heather here with Underwater Panther. Now, this is going to be in an extremely long video. I've done research for the past couple of days. I have debated with myself whether to post this kind of content on this channel or my other one. I did create another channel specifically for this topic. So I have decided to cross the threshold from personality to the cultural, societal, global, and internal and external spiritual wars. So, so I'm going to be talking about the masculine and feminine within every single part of our current lives. So the masculine and feminine topic goes political, it goes relational, it goes into your money, your work, your parenting, marriage, dating, engagement, everything. So the masculine and feminine topic is extremely vast and deep. I did the first 3 videos in this series. I laid the foundational groundwork of the masculine, toxic and healthy masculinity and femininity. Now, I was going to take this video series in a different direction, which I still will, but I still think that this is a very foundational video. So I am going to get into a lot of topics here, and this is going to be a very long video. I literally just deleted 400 videos in my phone to, I needed to clean it out anyways, and I definitely needed the storage because this is going to be a long video. So I listened to, I don't really know where to start. I just sat here and typed out a little introduction. So I'm going to read that first. I might get a little bit more background on myself personally so you know where I'm coming from. And then I am going to go over the topic and how I have organized this lecture or conversation, whatever you want to call it. All right, so I just said this part, but I'm going to repeat myself. So I'm crossing the threshold from personality. This is a personality-based YouTube channel of mine. But I'm crossing from that in this video to the cultural, societal, global, internal, and external spiritual wars between the masculine and feminine. This is a top-down issue that has gone so far that now it's a bottom-up and internal issue. So life, relationships, religion, dynamics have not always been this way. I come from a long line of teachers through public and private education, preachers through the Catholic, Presbyterian, and Christian religions, as well as shamans and medicine women on my Native American side. So my mother's side is Native American, and my grandfather's side and grandmother's side, my immediate family on my father's side, many of them were teachers teaching in both men mostly were teaching in the religious setting, and then the women were teaching in the educational and religious setting. So I come from a very long line of teachers, preachers, and shamans. I am estranged from my mother's side. My great aunt had passed away in March of this year, and so that opened up a huge old wound for me with my mother. But I did reconnect with my mother's Native American side, and from there, after going to her funeral and connecting back with my family, I had gone on a several-month genealogy researching my mother's side of the family. My father's side, they've already done all of their genealogy online. They have books. They're very well educated. They care. My mother's side, they have their own book. It cannot be located. I'm still trying to get a hold of that. So instead of waiting, I took 2 months of insane amounts of research and plugged everything in myself. So I went 11 generations back, and I am now fully more aware of my Native American lineage, blood. I have O blood, and my very core of my spirituality is very much so Native American, although I was raised very strictly Catholic. My grandmother raised me because my mother could not, and she was very, very, very strict, very active in the Catholic religion. She taught women groups, young and old. She traveled a lot on retreats. She read every single day. She had many, many Catholic books, and so she was extremely heavily involved in that religion, and that is where I come from. I went to a private Catholic school until I was in 5th grade, and so that is where I am coming from. So my immediate family still preaches traditionally to this day, rather in the recent traditional sense. I'm going to go back through history with the masculine and feminine dynamics and religion and everything else. So now I have had my own battles as a modern woman in a younger generation that is questioning every part of our handed down rationality and spirituality. So I find myself, I have always been this way. This is my personality. Regardless of how you were raised, your personality will always triumph, especially if you're very self-development focused. So I've always questioned authority. I have always felt, growing up in the Catholic religion, the only woman I had as an idol you're not supposed to look up, you're not supposed to have idols, but the only woman we had in the Catholic religion was the Virgin Mary. Now, I was looking up to this woman who was perfect. She didn't even have sex to have a child. I mean, I just always found that very odd. And when I was 14, I decided to turn away from that religion. And I was not the only one. So today's topic, the title is Patriarchy Explained. Now, I know that's very triggering. I know a lot of you have probably not looked into it. It's just a way of life. So it's going to be a deep dive into Patriarchy Explained, how to spot red flags, protect your standards, and build legacy. So I had very healthy masculine role models in my life. And so the way that played out for me with my mother wound was I was very tomboyish. I had more, men friends, just men in general. I surrounded myself with the masculine. I trusted the masculine more. I didn't trust women. I just kind of lived a life of running away from my own feminine, to be honest. And this last year and a half, I have been truly diving into reconnecting with that and trying to understand life from a more feminine way. So I was heavily lectured throughout my life on religion. I didn't have a mother giving me advice, like dating advice, marriage advice, any type of advice whatsoever. It was very, repressed. My grandmother never even gave me those conversations, nor did any men. So I have come from the bottom up with struggling through those wounds and lack of advice. So my main intention here is to tell you that I am not bitter. I understand that we all have our own inner dynamics that we need to heal, but also it's more about education if you do not have women in your life or men in your life giving you proper education on this topic, you are going to go through life rather naive. So I don't blame anyone but myself. That is a fact. It is what it is. We are adults now, and I think that we need to have this conversation. And I really, truly, my intention here is not to have women hate men, not to have anyone bitter at each other. Realize that this is a top-down dynamic. It was intentional. It has not always been this way. I just want us to open our minds, open the conversation more. You can go all over YouTube and find many, many people talking about this conversation. I find that women they're very much more open, and I think that's a good thing, but let's not forget that we shouldn't hate. Let's not get into a negative polarity here. It's not about hate. It is literally about education and protecting ourselves as men and women. The patriarchy has hurt both men and women, and I will get into that very deeply. So in this video, I'm going to break down what patriarchy really is and why it hurts both men and women, the history of women's rights and the rights still under attack today, the science behind fertility, emotional regulation, postpartum recovery, pay gaps, and retirement inequality. Now, I am conservative by my upbringing, right-leaning, I guess you can say, politically. That is my family. Me personally, I have taken many psychological tests. Now, your personality type will determine which way you lean, left, right. Politically, your personality does actually determine your political ideology. It's a real thing. So according to my personality test and my own inner knowing of myself, I am very middle grounded, but my mind leans left a little bit, not too much, just a little. I'm very open to listening to everyone. I want the full story. I am not, cherry picking due to my own trauma, due to my own personal relational experiences, pains, whatever the case may be. I try my hardest not to be biased. I know that that's impossible. Every human being is biased, but I'm very, very conscious of that. So we're going to talk about red flags of toxic dynamics versus green flags of integrated, healthy relationships and workplaces. Why standards are the ultimate protection against patriarchy in love, money, work, and daily life. This isn't about division, it's about integration. Masculine and feminine energy were never meant to compete. They were designed to complement. When you protect your standards, you don't just protect yourself, you build true legacy. So I am going to go into a little bit more of what this video is going to be about. Now, I think after this video, this is going to be a more, if you want to call it political, religious type of video. There is a lot of history in here, dates, science. I am tying everything in together because that is just who I am. I've always been this way. Now, I think I've already done 2 videos about top down and bottom up strategies of the ruling class, whatever you want to call them, shadow government, mind control, elites. I've already done a video about that months, probably a year ago at least. My microphone wasn't as good as this one, so I'm going to actually recreate that. I'm going to do more studies, but I really want to take it into an internal, more of like a hermetic, like an esoteric spiritual lens, because it goes very, very deep. It's not just about controlling the family, religion, politics, society itself, education. There's 5 pillars that core pillars are trying to control. And that will be this video. The next video, I'm going to probably take it very spiritual and internal process. That's very, I mean, it's all important. So I'm going to start here and then go there. And I've already made 20 more videos. I'm going to side step my initial list of videos I was going to do here. I'm going to do probably 20 videos after these two of the political and spiritual dynamics of the masculine and feminine. After that, I am going to go into very, very deep integration within the Aquarian personality type. And then I'll get back on track with my initial scripting video list that I've posted on like the last 3 videos. So I've decided to take this and expand it out even more. I think it's extremely important. So all right, so I'm just going to break down a little bit more of what this video is going to be about, and then I'm going to get into the actual video. So the Patriarchy Explained is a system of male dominance rooted in law, religion, and culture. History matters. Women were denied property, inheritance, credit, voting rights, even control of their own bodies. Reforms are recent and fragile. Dating red flags, breadcrumbing, confusion, and wasting your time. Engagement red flags, endless limbo, no date set. Wife benefits without covenant. Marriage traps, 50-50 myth, obedience demands, erased financial identity. Parenting imbalance, exhausted mothers, absent fathers versus shared parenting that heals. Workplace misogyny, pay gaps, harassment, male-dominated leadership versus integrated empathetic leadership. Money inequality, women retirement with 30 to 40% less. They earn 82 cents less on the dollar and lose 30% income due to post-divorce. And also we take into account that women are normally calling off work to take care of their children. And so that equals less money throughout their life. We're going to go into standards, savings, investments, and prenup. Lifestyle pressure. Women do 2.5 times unpaid labor, carry invisible mental load, and face billion-dollar beauty pressures. Balance equals shared labor and chosen self-care. Integration heals. Masculine equals structure, protection, provision. Feminine equals flow, nurture, discernment. Together they create wholeness. So that is what this video is going to expand out into. I am going to try to be as not biased as possible. I am extremely concerned with my own experiences in life, what I have seen and dealt with personally. I only blame myself for not recognizing these red flags and dynamics. You know, I thought dating older men would help that, but that is not the case. The patriarchal thing has gone on for many, many, many generations. I see it in my own life with, you know, I understand as a woman, your father is going to look at you like you're going to marry out, and they're not going to teach you, or how do you explain that? See, like I come from a farming family, so I was always stuck in the office. I did paperwork. I was never taught, you know, the actual farming mechanical aspect of it. And I'm very capable. I do that in my own job pretty much. So it's just unfortunate that we can't look at each other past this ideology. And so I really hope that this video will expand your mind and appreciate each other more and understand that we all are very, very capable. I mean, it's just, I understand, you know, my father loves me very much, and I still see the like misogynistic, I mean, it just comes out everywhere. So I don't expect this video to, really truly make a huge impact, but any one person will help the next person, will help the next person. So this is just science, facts, what I've experienced personally through every relationship, seeing it in other women's lives. And so I'm just here to hopefully open your mind. So patriarchy isn't just politics. It isn't just men versus women. It's a system, a script that has been shaping our laws, our families, our money, and our very identities for thousands of years. And here's the truth. Patriarchy doesn't only hurt women, it also hurts men. Now, that's going to be the hardest thing for a man to understand, but I am here to break that down. It cuts every human being in half, suppressing the fullness of who we are. Today, we're going to break it down, what patriarchy is, why it harms everyone, where it came from, and how it still shows up in 7 key areas of your life: dating, engagement, marriage, motherhood, or parenting. I go into fatherhood too, work, money, and lifestyle. And along the way, I'll show you the red flags of toxic patterns and the green flags of healthy polarity, so you know exactly what to watch for. So I don't even think I introduced myself. Hi, this is Heather here with Underwater Panther with a, what am I at, 22-minute intro. So here I'm combining grounded strategy, spiritual clarity, and science to expose the systems shaping us and to show you how to reclaim your standards, your peace, and your power. Now this is going to be probably triggering for both, probably mostly for men, and that's okay. And for women, it's going to be more about protecting yourself. I never had anyone in my life like teach me how to actually protect myself. I am naturally a very loving, giving, people-pleasing type of person. Aquarians and Pisces in general are that way, and so they're all about performance. They're trying to, anything they put their energy into, they're trying to do it at a very high level, perfectionistic level. And so my own personality works against me. My own religious upbringing has worked against me. My lack of education with all of this has worked against me. So I know I'm not the only one. And yeah, we're here to bust that right open. All right, so patriarchy is a system of male dominance built into law, religion, culture, and family structures. It says men are the natural leaders, providers, and decision makers, while women are dependents, caretakers, and followers. Now, I'm adding religious history and Native American history in here as well. It isn't just personal bias, it's institutional. For most of history, men owned property, land, and wealth. Men held political, religious, and legal authority. Women were legal minors transferred from father to husband. Patriarchy is essentially power concentrated in men's hands at the expense of women's freedom. Why patriarchy hurts both men and women. Now I'm going to be rotating through through 3 different drinks. I've got energy drink, water, and some wine. Yes, I know, it's terrible. All right, so why patriarchy hurts both men and women. I'm coming from both angles here. I am not one of those like angry, bitter, sexist. Like, this is a thing. If you want to try to sit here and call me sexist, I just want to be extremely clear. I'm a very masculine woman. I have surrounded myself by men my entire life. I had a healthy father, healthy grandfather, healthy family in the masculine. I thought I could trust men. So now I honestly have flipped that, and I'm realizing I need to heal my inner feminine wound from my mother. And I am now more focused on relationships with women and protecting myself from being naive, because this is what it is. And yeah, so that's just my lens. I am not here to be a sexist person. I see both sexes as equally important. I just want to really hammer that here because I do take that very seriously. Okay, so for women, patriarchy hurts them. It erased freedom, no voting, no property rights, no financial independence. Even today, women face wage gaps, wasted time in relationships, and pressure to give wife benefits without the wife title. For men, it amputated vulnerability, no crying, no softness, no intuition. Men were told they had to be stoic providers and never show weakness. As a result, patriarchy suppressed wholeness. Women were told you are only feminine, nurturing, soft, passive, but women also hold masculine traits, leadership, focus, and strategy. I'm already needing to adjust. All right. I'm sitting Indian style here. All right, so for men, it amputated. Oh, I already said that. So men were told you're only masculine, tough, hard, protective, but men also hold feminine traits like creativity, nurturing, and empathy. That's why patriarchy is dumb. It cuts people in half, making women weaker than they are and men colder than they should be. History of patriarchy and matriarchy. All right, I'm going to have to get more comfortable here. Switch up. All right, so ancient patriarchy, control written into law. Mesopotamia in 1754 BC, we have Hammurabi's Code, women as property, adultery punishable by death for women but not for men. Ancient Greece, 400s BC, democracy excluded women entirely. Women had no vote, no property, and no public voice. Rome, 500 BC to 400 AD. Patria potestas gave men absolute authority over wives and children. Religion reinforces patriarchy. Religion did not invent patriarchy, but it cemented it as divine law. Judaism, priests, scribes, and rabbis were all male. Women's roles in temple life were limited, and many female voices in scripture were erased and canonization. Christianity, 300s AD onward. Early women leaders existed, but by the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, women were banned from priesthood. Verses like "Wives, submit to your husbands" were formalized. Mary Magdalene, once a leader, was rewritten as a fallen woman. You need to definitely, if you're a woman, this is something I have been doing. I have been re-educating myself in all of the female feminine leadership throughout history, inventors, through religious leaders, through mythology, all of it. I have been really diving into female archetypes because I was not taught that in the Catholic religion growing up. I lacked it so much. And so, yeah, look into Mary Magdalene. Once a leader, was written as a fallen woman. I actually just watched a 2-hour lecture on that last night. Catholicism centralized male authority with a male-only priesthood, and papacy. I gotta sneeze. Sorry, hold on. Maybe. Excuse me, my allergies are terrible. I'm gonna readjust my chair, and I'm not gonna edit any of this because it is what it is. All right, so women were excluded from sacramental leadership. The Virgin Mary was venerated, but only in passive roles, mother and maiden, while independent women were demonized as heretics or witches. The church backed European coverture laws, which erased women's legal identities. Islam, 1600s AD. Women gained inheritance and divorce rights, progressive for the time, but patriarchal interpretations soon dominated. Male guardianship became law. Hinduism, ancient Vedic traditions included female sages and goddesses, but later texts like the Manusmriti Manusmriti declared women must always be under male authority, father, husband, or son. I have seriously studied all religions since 14 on. I have definitely studied all religions. I just can't stop. So Buddhism, the Buddha allowed women to be ordained, but female monks had stricter rules and were seen as inferior to male monks. In many branches, ordination for women disappeared. Across religions, God shifted from goddess plus god figures to almost exclusively male figures. Female prophets, priestesses, and deities were erased or minimized, and spiritual authority was centralized in male hands. Medieval Europe. Women erased, feminine demonized. 500 to 1500 coverture laws. Marriage erased a woman's legal existence. Her husband owned her property, wages, and even her body. 1500s to the 1600s, we had witch hunts. Tens of thousands of women killed as witches. Many were midwives, herbalists, and spiritual leaders. Patriarchy feared women's control over fertility, health, and spiritual wisdom. Matriarchal and balanced systems, the forgotten counter history. Patriarchy wasn't universal. Many cultures were matrilineal or balanced. So we have the Iroquois Confederacy in North America. Women were clan mothers with authority to select and remove chiefs. Property and lineage passed through women. Early U.S. suffragists admired this model. Cherokee in the southeastern United States. Matrilineal children belonged to the mother's clan, and women held land and decision-making power. Navajo in the southwest U.S. Property and livestock passed through women. Maternal uncles guided children's upbringing. And then we have the Akan, the Ghana. Queen mothers shared governance with chiefs, balancing power. In the Masuo in China, kingdom of women, households led by women, inheritance through daughters. In Minangkabau, Indonesia, today the world's largest matrilineal society, women inherit property and lead family wealth. Pre-colonial Philippines, Babylon, priestesses were spiritual and political leaders. And then we have I can't pronounce that, 6,000 to 7,000 BC, Anatolia. Goddess figurines and equal burials suggested gender balance. And then we have Crete, 3000 to 1100 BC. Women held priestess roles and public authority in a goddess-centered culture. What happened? Colonization. European colonization dismantled matrilineal systems across Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Female leaders were delegitimized, priestesses demonized, and indigenous women stripped of authority. Patriarchy spread globally not because it was natural, but because it was enforced. I'm going to take a drink, and then I'm going to go through women's rights historically from the 1800s on. I actually went way further back than that, but I'm just going to start at the 1800s. All right, so we have 1848 in the United States. Seneca Falls Convention launches women's rights movement. 1869, United States, Wyoming grants women the vote. 1893 in New Zealand, first national women's suffrage. Early 1900s, 1918, United Kingdom, limited suffrage for women over 30. 1920, U.S., 19th Amendment. 1928, the U.K., equal franchise. 1930s in Turkey, women gained suffrage under Ataturk. 1944, France, women's suffrage. 1947, India, women vote in first elections. Mid-1900s. 1952, Greece, women vote. 1956, Egypt, women vote. 1963. Where's my calendar? Calculator. Where in the heck is my calculator at? I don't even know. But anyways, that's insane. I'm sorry. It's insane to me. All right. So 1963 U.S. Equal Pay Act. 1964 U.S. Civil Rights Act bans sex discrimination. In 1964, 1971 Switzerland, women gain national suffrage. 1972 U.S. Title VI opens education and sports. Yeah, the sports thing. I've dedicated myself this year to at least a couple times a week to introduce myself to women that they were inventors. They didn't want to play into this, like, I'm small, I can't do anything. And there was this woman, 1972, it says, Title VI opens education and sports. There's this woman, I'm a runner. This woman was a runner, and she disguised herself in this huge marathon, and she ran. The only woman, she ran with this huge marathon. And that was like a huge turning point culturally, realizing, oh, women can run and do sports too. It was just such a beautiful story. I can't even imagine. 1974, United States Equal Credit Opportunity Act. 1979, UN CEDAW adopted. Late 1900s. 1981, Spain, divorce legalized. 1985, Liechtenstein, last in Europe to allow women's vote. 1993, UN, Vienna Declaration affirms women's rights as human rights. 1995, 2000s to present. 2005 in Kuwait, women can vote. 2006 in Pakistan, reforms against honor killings and rape laws. 2010, grape, I don't think I can say that on here. 2010, Mexico, gender parity laws. 2013, U.S., women allowed in all combat roles, which, yeah, I don't really get into that. But anyways, 2018, Saudi Arabia, women drive. 2021, Sudan outlaws FGM and allows women to travel without male permission. 2021. Regression and backlash. Reproductive rights. 2012 to 2020s, Poland near total. I know I definitely can't say that word. I'll say torsion ban. Near total torsion ban, if you can understand my lingo. 2022 U.S. Roe versus Wade overturned. Legal and political rollbacks. Some nations refuse to criminalize marital rape. Domestic violence protections weakened. Equal pay and gender quotas attacked as unfair. Now, here's a huge, like, smack in the face that I never realized until, like, I don't even know, a month ago. Men have the same right in every state in the United States. They all have the same equal rights. Now, if you're a woman traveling around the United States, each state is different with our rights. To me, that's just... I have no words. Cultural backlash. Traditional values, movements pressure women back into dependency. Female leaders mocked as unfeminine. Men discouraged from showing emotion. All right, so history isn't a straight climb forward. Patriarchy dominated, but matriarchies thrive too. Religion often erased women's voices, replacing goddesses, priestesses, and prophets with male-only authority. Women's rights only gained real traction in the last 150 years, with major wins across the globe. And yet those rights are constantly under pressure. And patriarchy isn't just history, it shows up in your daily life. So let's break it down in 7 key areas: dating, engagement, marriage, parenting, work, money, and lifestyle. So this is an extremely very, very long script, and I did my best to organize it. I might backtrack a little bit, but I'm going to jump into this and do the best that I can. It's a lot of information. All right, so let's talk about dating, because this is where patriarchy sets its trap. Dating is supposed to be about connection and clarity, but under patriarchy, it turns into a game. Women are told, be patient, be nice, prove your worth, choosing. Meanwhile, men are encouraged to drag things out, waste time, and enjoy all the benefits of partnership without offering real commitment. If you miss the red flags here, they don't go away. They just get bigger in engagement and marriage. So let's break this down. Today, we're ripping that script up. We'll walk through 7 real-life areas: dating, engagement, marriage, parenting, work, money, and lifestyle. We're going to show how the patriarchal version hurts everyone and map out a healthier, more powerful alternative. I'll also give you spot on red flags and green flags so you know what to watch for. So let's get into it. Toxic patriarchal dynamics. Patriarchy turns dating into a power play. Men pressured to relentlessly initiate, provide, and hide. Vulnerability. Women pressured to be pleasing, not too forward, and to play the game. The result: performance over truth and games over connection. A healthy model centers polarity and clarity. Masculine leads, feminine selects. This means men initiate with honesty and consistent action. Women communicate standards, discern, and respond. Dating becomes vetting, not a pastime. So a practical line: I date for marriage, is a legitimate boundary. Say it early. And if this doesn't align, respectfully decline. Spiritual insight. Masculine energy brings direction and structure. Feminine energy brings receptivity and discernment. The dating dance is sacred when the two meet in balance. When women are forced to chase or men coast, the energy is off. Attraction and respect degrades. So science and biology. After this, we're going to get into red flags and green flags. So I know a lot of men don't want to hear the science of reality between biology of men and women, but most men, I will tell you right now, do not care about a woman's timeline. They don't care about their time. I don't understand myself why this is like so terrible to actually talk about. It's just totally disregarded, but I'm going to get into it. So, science and biology. Here's the reality. Women and men do not have the same biological timeline. A woman's fertility peaks in her 20s and early 30s. After 35, egg reserve and quality decline rapidly. By 40, her chances of conceiving per cycle can be less than 10%. Men, they don't face the same cliff. They can father children much longer, beyond 70 years old, if you were unaware. So yeah, the timeline is not, they don't care about your timeline. And this is why waiting it out almost always benefits men, but puts women at risk. Patriarchy knows this, but it teaches men not to care about women's timeline, which is why one of the biggest standards is this: do not let a man waste your time. Every year matters. It's not just fertility. Biology affects dating in other ways too. For example, during menstruation, women may feel physically weaker, but research shows women have greater endurance and long-distance exertion and actually recover faster than men. Spiritually, that endurance mirrors something else. Women are naturally stronger in emotional regulation. So this is a really big, I don't know if I should, you know, men say women are more emotional when patriarchy has literally made men suppress all of their feminine. So when you're suppressing and repressing your feminine, you are not integrating your own emotions. So men are told, don't be emotional, don't cry, don't tell your feelings, don't say you need anything. And so that literally explodes out as violence in relationships, like everywhere. Violence against each other, violence against women. They're projecting their own hate of their own feminine onto women, looking at women like women are just feminine, when in all reality, we are all feminine and masculine. So it's a very ignorant thing here. So women are definitely constantly dealing with hormones, dealing with understanding they have a certain limited amount of time for reproduction. It's very, very, women have to really understand that they need to protect their time, their energy, and that's why women take dating, engagement, marriage very seriously, honestly, very seriously. And you need to vet men. If they're not taking you seriously, cut out. Like, that is just such, I don't know why this needs to be said, but I need to tell my own self that. Anyways, so here's where patriarchy twists it. Because men who want control often play games to deliberately make women emotional. So not only are they suppressing and repressing their own emotional feminine, they project that out. They need to fill their own cup from women's emotional world because they suppress and repress their own emotions, that they are projecting, I need emotional fulfillment. And normally that comes out in a very distorted, violent, it's not always violence, but it's always, they want to trigger women emotionally just to call them more emotional. But in all reality, they're feeding off of women's emotions because they think it's, oh, this woman cares about me. And it's a very twisted, backwards way to fill their own emotional world. And so men tend to play games. Men are hunters. Don't ever forget that. They know what they're doing. They know that they are triggering you intentionally to feed off of your emotions. So don't forget that. So they're playing games to deliberately make women emotional. And the games they play is ghosting, breadcrumbing, picking fights, negging. Look into that. Men nag women a lot just to get them to emotionally react. Because the moment you're upset, they feel in control. So it's not only trying to fill themselves up from your emotions, but it's also to gain mental. If they can control your emotions, they know that they got you mentally. They can control you on all levels here. So hear me clearly. Your emotional regulation is your power. Do not hand it over. So red flags. We're talking about dating. Another drink. So what do toxic dating patterns look like? Here are some red flags. He avoids defining the relationship. He takes loyalty, intimacy, and even domestic labor from you without offering commitment. He brushes off your concerns with lines like, "What's the rush?" while ignoring your biology. He stirs drama just to keep you off balance. And here's one big one. He pushes for 50-50. 50-50 is this, like, women nowadays, I actually fell into the 50-50 trap 6 years ago, unfortunately. And women in today's world are falling into this trap because they think that, I don't know, it's like we're excited to be working and having our own money and contributing, but the 50-50 does not actually play out 50-50 due to many reasons: biology, When you become a mother, you're calling off work to take care of your child. It is just never going to be 50-50. You cannot compare a man to a woman, especially in today's society. Women are doing a lot of unpaid labor. They work, they have their children, they're cooking, cleaning. It's never going to be 50-50 ever. Like that, it's men like to hoard finances. I'm going to later on in the work section, I'm going to get into the it's not just about really pay gap, but it's more of calling off work because of your child. There's less money there. Women are very child focused, so they're spending more money on so many different things for their children. Men tend to hoard their money, and by that they put it into their savings rather than investing into their kids and family in the moment. Huge problem. So 50-50 is the worst thing that you can ever fall into. That is an immediate red flag. Run for the hills. So when they're asking you for 50-50, this is not about partnership, but as an excuse to avoid leading or providing. Do you see the patterns? Patriarchy trains men to extract from women in dating, to take without giving. So we have some green flags. Let's see here. But that's not the only way. Healthy integrated dating looks completely different. A man who's worth your time shows it. He defines his intentions clearly. Instead of keeping you in confusion, he respects your timeline and doesn't waste years. He's consistent, not breadcrumbing, no ghosting. He protects your peace instead of stirring drama. And he invests not just with words, but with action. So yeah, take actions over words every single time. So that's what healthy polarity looks like. I'm going to say some more red flags. So toxic masculinity, I'm going to break it down, the toxic masculine, feminine, and then the healthy polarity as well. So toxic masculinity in dating, overly possessive, controlling. So this man is going to constantly need to know where you are. They're going to ask you to turn on your GPS location so they can constantly control your every move. They're going to tell you to delete everyone on your social medias. They're going to isolate you. It's all about control. Overly possessive, controlling. At first, you're going to be like, oh, this is so sweet. He really cares about me. And then you're going to realize that after he isolates you, he's going to chip away at your literal identity. Just total huge red flag. Constant posturing about status, never vulnerability. Constant posturing about status. So a very toxic red flag is a man going around preaching that he's the alpha. No real alpha is ever going to say he's an alpha. So he's constantly like, praising himself outwardly, and then the opposite of that is not only praising himself outwardly, it's pity me, the man job is so hard, I have such a tough life. He's going to guilt you. That's emotional manipulation. He's going to guilt you because manhood is so difficult. Treats dating like conquest, pressures for schmecks quickly. So you can vet a man very quickly by how soon he is pressuring you into having schmecks. Strings along with charm, not consistency. So the charmers, oh my gosh, I always attract feminine men that are charming. That has been my downfall, the charmers. So just charmers. If charmers, they tend to, I will say that in my own personal experience, that charmers are the ones that are going to love bomb you. They're going to get you addicted quickly. They're going to love bomb you. They're going to rush you. They're going to rush the relationship. They're going to rush you into the relationship. And you're like, wow, this man really knows what he wants. So he's going to spend a lot of money on you. He's going to rush you. And then after that, the controlling sets in. After that, the identity, breaking down your identity and self-worth starts. So a charmer is a red flag, as well as the love bombing. Like a consistent good man that really wants to be with you. They're not gonna like rush you. They're not gonna love bomb. They're not gonna rush the relationship. They're gonna be slow and steady. All right, and then wasting your time, doesn't respect fertility time windows. A man, this is a huge one in dating. If you're dating somebody and you say, here are my standards, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, you're not wife material unless you move in with me and pretend like you're my wife and have a child before marriage. Like, it's terrible. Like, I just went through that. It was terrible. Like, I didn't move in or anything, but I don't want to get too personal here, but the boundary pushing, they're going to tell you whatever you want to hear in the beginning. The quieter you are in the dating phase, don't talk about your trauma, don't talk about past relationships, don't talk about anything like that. Like, the more you give information wise, they're going to use that against you. Tell you what you want to hear, and then after that, they're going to push through your boundaries and try to rush things as quickly as they can to get you trapped, baby wise, moving in wise, you know, stuck in an engagement forever, whatever the case may be. All right, and then another red flag is feeds on emotional drama, pushing buttons to get reactions. That goes into the controlling thing, pushing buttons, saying you're not wife material. Triangulation is a big one where they compare you to their exes or other women that they work with or whatever the case may be. Triangulation is a huge emotional manipulation thing. Yeah, feeds off of your emotional reactions. If your nervous system does not feel regulated around that man, run for the hills immediately. You need to really tune into your intuition and really, really ground yourself in your body and ask yourself, do I feel safe with this person? How do I feel? Am I getting too emotional? Is he trying to literally take over my whole life, my whole mind? Is he trying to take away relationships, other healthy relationships in my life, my family, all of that? Red flags, toxic femininity in dating, emotional manipulation, silent treatment, and jealousy games, overgiving to prove worth or secure him, settling for crumbs, and extended limbo with the whole girlfriend is not a status and neither is fiance, but I would rather be engaged than not. But definitely the girlfriend crap, skip that phase. That is not a title. Just totally skip that. There's no such thing as girlfriend and boyfriend. Engagement should last between 6 to 12 months, maybe a little longer, and that is it. Cut it off. Like, that is not a title. Do not pretend like you're a wife when you're not. All right, chasing or proposing to collapse polarity. A woman should never chase a man or propose. Using dating purely for gifts and lifestyle. Yeah, that can be a toxic feminine trait. Green flags, but I'm not going to get into that. Many people do. Green flags, healthy polarity in dating. He communicates intentions and is consistent. She states standards early and responds accordingly, immediately. Actions align with promises. Respect for time and timelines. No endless talking. Values and future goals are openly discussed. Having the hard conversations is not triggering, should not be triggering to anybody. He protects her emotional peace, doesn't thrive on drama. Now, a very huge red flag is if a man tells you to be his peace. That is like, I will never get that. A man's life is so far beyond. I mean, I can literally take 4 women that are like mothers or just women in general. I could take 4 women and add all of those 4 people, add all those 4 women together, add all of their peaceful times together to themselves, and that still will not equate to the amount of self-time peace that a man gets. I will never understand to be the man's peace. Men are not as hormonal. They're not dealing with menstrual cycles. They're not dealing with a timeline. They're not dealing with childbirth. They're not dealing with healing from that. They're not dealing with the children. I will never understand it. Red flag. Spiritual layer. See, patriarchy collapses polarity. It pressures women to chase, prove, and overgive, and when that happens, both masculine and feminine gets distorted. Healthy dating is about balance, not proving, not chasing, but clarity and choice. So if you're wondering why so many of these patterns still feel baked into our culture, here's a quick history check. In the 1800s, women in most Western nations couldn't inherit property. Marriage wasn't about love, it was about survival. That's why women were pressured to secure a husband at all costs. That literally turned the man into the prize. Dating back, I don't even like using that language, but what the hell. Dating back then wasn't designed for romance. It was designed to lock women into dependency. And patriarchy hasn't forgotten that script. It's just been updated for modern times. So remember this. Dating sets the foundation. If you ignore the red flags here, they only multiply later. But if you hold your standards and spot the signs early, you can protect your peace, your timeline, and your future. Next, we'll move into engagement, the bridge between dating and marriage, where many women lose years in limbo. And this is where clarity matters more than ever. So, section 3, engagement, the bridge, not the destination. Now, let's talk about engagement, because this is where many women lose years of their lives, me included. I blame myself only, though. That's why I'm making videos like this and researching. I'm just so over it. Patriarchy has sold women the story that an engagement ring is the ultimate prize, as if being called someone's fiance is the finish line. But here's the truth. Engagement is not a crown. It's a bridge. It's supposed to move you from dating into marriage. But under patriarchy, men often use engagement as a stall tactic, a way to lock down your loyalty without giving you the full covenant. Toxic patriarchal dynamic. Culture turned engagement into a status, an ongoing lifestyle many mistake for security. Men sometimes enjoy husband perks without vows. Women stay in long engagements and lose years waiting. Conscious and healed dynamics. He proposes, she consents. Engagement is logistics only. Planning, alignment, spiritual, and legal prep. Keep it short, 6 to 12 months or so. The only binding title is marriage. Girlfriend, fiance, or girlfriend's not a title, throw that out the window. Fiance, very temporary. I'm not going to go into fertility again. I think I hammered that already, but you can definitely apply that here. Men do not face the pressure of the fertility window. They can father children decades later. That's why a man who drags out an engagement doesn't lose. A woman does. Don't let a man waste your time. All right, so toxic engagement red flags. Signs of patriarchy's games. He proposes but never sets a date. We're engaged. Becomes a holding pattern, not a path. Engagement stretches on for years with excuses. We need more money. I'm not ready. The timing isn't right. He treats fiancé as if it's a permanent title, enjoying commitment benefits while dodging covenant responsibility. He pressures you to move in before marriage, asking for all the benefits of a wife without giving you the security of being one. Now, this really, really, really actually does piss me off. I've done it one time. I lived in a house for 15 years, and I moved in with a man that wanted 50-50, and oh my God, that was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. And I will never, never do that again, ever. I will never move in with a man unless I'm married. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That was terrible. That was like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Anyways, I definitely learned my lesson the hard way. And I just, you know, it's just ignorance. It really is. It's ignorance on a woman's part. It's kind of, I like the car analogy. It's like, I don't know exactly remember how it goes, but it's like, I don't know. It's just not going to work. You move in with a man, you're not married, you're cooking for him, cleaning, you're doing all the wife. It's like milking the cow without buying the cow. Like they're going to get what they can out of you. And there's no reason to marry you at that point because you're already doing wife things. But then a man will turn around and say, "Well, I don't know if you're wife material. I have to see if you can." It's like I don't understand how someone can be like, "I don't know if you can cook. I don't know if you're a good, mother. I don't know if you're a good person. I don't know if you can do laundry and clean." It's like, how can a man say that to a woman? I'm sitting here thinking, well, wait a minute. Do you know how to do any of these things? Is that why you're projecting and asking me? Like, we're both adults here. I don't understand. It's weaponized incompetence. Men act like they don't know how to do these things in order for a woman to do all of these things and just be bogged down and controlled by literal lack of time to do anything else. Terrible. Never do it. All right. So he resists a prenup because he wants access to your labor, loyalty, or assets without protection. I certainly advise a prenup for everyone. That's where I'm at. Bottom line, patriarchy uses engagement as a trap or delay, as a trap of delay. Integrated engagement, green flag, signs of clarity and integration. He proposes with a clear wedding timeline in mind. He's actively engaged in planning for the marriage, not just the wedding. The engagement period is reasonable. It moves with purpose, not excuses. He honors your biological timeline, respecting that your future fertility and family planning are not negotiable. He supports a prenup because he sees marriage as legacy, not as a power play. He doesn't ask you to play wife before you are one. Bottom line, integrated men see engagement as preparation, not procrastination. I'm going to go into some more red flags through the toxic feminine. Begging, nagging, or pressuring a proposal, proposing to a man, collapsing polarity, idolizing the ring, the fiance status as permanent, moving in before marriage, merging finances too early, toxic feminine, red flags, green flags, healthy engagement through the feminine, clear proposal followed by a wedding date set quickly, families, faith, and finances discussed and aligned prior to, premarital, mentoring engaged, cohabitation delayed until after marriage, engagement used as a purposeful logistics window, not a lifestyle. Extra practical notes. So, yeah, I've already hammered on these. I'm good with that. The spiritual dimension, spiritual reflection. Engagement is sacred. Masculine energy initiates, feminine energy discerns. When polarity is healthy, a man's proposal is not a bribe to buy time. It's an invitation into covenant. The feminine doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't prove. She sets standards, discernment aligns, and chooses with wisdom. If patriarchy has you begging a man to marry you, the polarity has already collapsed. Because real masculine energy doesn't waste a woman's timeline, it protects it. So now we're going to get into the history of engagement as control. Victorian era. In the 1800s, an engagement wasn't romantic. This is a theme we're seeing. We've romanticized engagement through what? I don't know. What is that culturally? Music? I mean, movies? I don't, like, why is this so romanticized? I really don't know. I can't answer that question. In the 1800s, an engagement wasn't romantic. It was binding. If a man broke it off, the woman's reputation could be ruined. People assumed she was flawed and she might never marry again. Engagement was literally her social currency. This made women desperate to hold on to engagement, even if the man was unworthy. Patriarchy thrived on that desperation, giving men freedom and women pressure. Catholic and Christian influence. In Catholic Europe, betrothal was treated almost like marriage. In some periods, breaking an engagement was considered a sin, even requiring church annulment. The church made betrothal contracts legally binding, tying women's futures to men's promises. Notice the pattern. Women were locked down early, but men had escape routes. Even the Virgin Mary, elevated as the ideal woman, was honored only in submissive roles, mother, maiden, obedient vessel. Any woman outside that mold, independent, outspoken, and sexual, was branded as a witch or sinner. This shaped how women saw engagement. It became proof of worth, not just a step in a relationship. Cultural note. In some cultures, dowries or bride prices were tied to engagement. If a man broke it off, the woman's family could lose wealth or status. Again, women carried the cost while men carried the choice. Why women must protect engagement standards. Because biology is real, you don't get your wasted years back. Because titles matter, girlfriend and fiance, girlfriend, throw that out the window, and fiance are not legal or spiritual covenants. Only wife is. Because emotions get exploited, men who delay thrive on keeping you loyal and off balance emotionally and mentally and spiritually. Because history repeats itself, women have always borne the weight of broken engagements. Key standard: do not live like a wife before you are one. Engagement is preparation, not permanence. So don't confuse a diamond ring with a covenant. Engagement is not the destination, it's the bridge. And a bridge is meant to carry you across, not leave you stranded in the middle. Next, we're going to move into marriage itself, the place where patriarchy has always had its strongest hold. This is where myths like 50-50 and endless sacrifice keep women trapped, and where healthy boundaries matter most. All right, so section 4, marriage, covenant, not casual. Now we come to marriage, the place where patriarchy has always shown its strongest grip. For centuries, marriage wasn't about love or partnership. It was about property, power, and control. Patriarchy sold marriage as the highest honor for women, but stripped it of equality. And to this day, many women walk into marriage without realizing they're stepping into centuries of rules designed to silence them. So let's break it down: what toxic marriage looks like, what healthy marriage can be, and why setting standards here protects not just your peace, but your own legacy. The science of marriage and motherhood. So we're going to get into the feminine. Oh my gosh. Men just don't want to have this conversation about women's timelines, postpartum, childbirth, what the body goes through. It's like, ew, that's just a woman thing. It's so gross. Like, get real. Postpartum recovery. So after childbirth, a woman's body takes at least 6 weeks for basic healing, but full pelvic floor and abdominal recovery can take 6 months to a year. And then let's tack on 2 more years to that, because it's a lot. It is like you're not sleeping for 2 years at all. You're breastfeeding, you're healing emotionally, mentally, physically. Yeah, add on 2.5 years. Patriarchy often ignores this reality, pressuring women to bounce back physically, sexually, and emotionally, while men face no such recovery demands. Goodness gracious. I don't want to get too personal, but each pregnancy I had, I was cheated on. And I don't know why men don't take that as a sacred... I mean, geez, they won't even take marriage as sacred, let alone childbirth and developing a child. And oh my God, it's just, there's so much disconnection. There's so much disconnection. And it's not just men. Women are disconnected, but this is more of a protect yourselves, women. Emotional regulation. Studies show women are generally better at emotional regulation and long-term relationship maintenance. Yes, men are stronger because of their build, their muscles, but women actually have more endurance when it comes to emotional regulation, when it comes to endurance in general, maintaining their children, maintaining the household, maintaining finances, maintaining education, like maintaining self-care, all of that. Women have insane pain, for example. Women can manage pain levels. The endurance goes very deep. And so let's just sit on that for a minute and really think, you know, the protector, I'm going to protect you. Like the men are like the protectors, like protecting me from what in this modern age? What are you protecting me from? I don't know. I really actually don't know. It's unfortunate. It's just this, there's so many things not taken into consideration. Toxic men often exploit this by making women emotional, then dismissing them as too sensitive. The whiplash. Let's not even get into narcissism. Holy crap. I need to do a whole video on that alone, but I'm not going to do it here. All right, longevity and health. Married men statistically live longer than single men. Married women, however, don't see the same benefit and sometimes live shorter lives if the marriage is stressful or unequal. I can certainly vouch for that in my own life. I'm not going to get into that here, but that is absolutely true. If a man is not checking in with a woman and constantly stressing her out, she's going to probably have a stroke. Yeah, personal experience. Patriarchy has designed marriage to serve men more than women. Integrated marriage must correct that imbalance. Toxic marriage red flags. Here's what toxic patriarchal marriage looks like. He believes 50-50 is fair, but in practice, the woman carries the emotional, domestic, and child-rearing labor on top of her career. He demands obedience using religion or tradition to silence her voice. He gaslights her emotions and making her feel crazy when she asks for help or fairness. He wastes years without providing security, financially or emotionally. I mean, the providing part here's a really big one. How many women of you out there have your own insurance? You're providing for yourself and your own safety. Like the insurance thing, most men don't even want to put you on their insurance or going to ask for your insurance. Like, good Lord. He resists prenups or boundaries, expecting full access to her resources while protecting his own. He sees wife as servant, not partner. That's not covenant, that's control. Now, I'm going to get into the green flags after this, but I do want to say this is a huge, huge red flag. Now, men by nature definitely hoard resources. This whole patriarchal thing is about hoarding their own resources, not taking responsibility, accountability, hoarding their own resources. Now it's like, you know, we've gained a lot of rights as women in this day and age. And so we don't know how to like contain that and hold it and multiply that. What's happening is men are taking even less responsibility. Now, men are a lot. This is like, I know this for a fact. I mean, I know not all men. I'm not saying all men, but personally, I know this is a fact through talking personally in my own life, talking to women, my own personal experiences. Men are like, this whole patriarchal thing is about hoarding resources, oppression of the feminine, of women, is to dominate, control, hoard resources. The more resources you have, the more powerful you are. It's all about power dynamics and control. Now, in today's modern age, women are not only doing what they used to do back in the day with the children, with the household, with the cooking, the cleaning. Women now have careers. They're making their own money. 45% of women right now are making more money than men, have more education than men. Now, here's what's happening. Men are taking advantage of that. A lot of children only have the mother's insurance on them. Men are no longer providing insurance for their children, or a lot of them, I'm talking about unmarried, like just it's a really crazy thing. They are not wanting to pay child support. They are like, the child support thing is really wild to me. Like, it takes like 1.5, 2 incomes to support one child now in this day and age. And a man will dump his money into his 401k before he is going to put what is actually required to raise a child in the child. And then he's going to say, oh, well, I am looking out for my children's future by building up my own retirement, when in all reality, you're not taking accountability now for your children right now. Like right now. Their future is right now. It's, I don't know. When men are getting away with murder, absolute murder, and I don't understand it. I really don't, because the way I see this is men totally used to solely provide. They would work, they would solely provide insurance, finances, food, clothing, all of it. Men would provide all of it. They were providers. But now women are providing. Women are taking their time with the children and education and medical, taking them to doctor's appointments. All of it. They're not only doing all that, they're providing all of that financially, insurance. What are men complaining about? Why I don't I just truly help me out here. What's going on? I don't understand. I don't know. Integrated marriage green flags. A healthy marriage looks completely different. He understands covenant is 100-100, not 50-50. Both bring their full selves, masculine providing structure and protection, feminine bringing nurture and discernment. He values your voice and decision making. Leadership is service, not domination. He invests in emotional intimacy, not just physical or financial. A very toxic man is going to not do any of the emotional intimacy. All that burden is on the woman. It's insane. And yes, all of these red flags, they absolutely know they're doing it. They're just trying to gaslight you as much as they can. He plans long-term, financially, spiritually, emotionally, and includes you in every step. He supports prenups, wills, and protections because he sees marriage as legacy, not leverage. That's what real partnership looks like. The spiritual layer, spiritually, marriage is covenant, not contract or convenience. Masculine energy builds the house, structure, provision, and protection. Feminine energy fills it with life, nurture, discernment, and vision. Patriarchy distorted this, turning marriage into ownership, but integration restores it, showing that masculine and feminine are complementary forces, not competing ones. Marriage isn't about possession. It's about polarity and purpose. History, marriage as control. I need to take a drink before the history portion. All right. Where am I at? Hour and a half. History, marriage as control. Coverture laws, Europe and U.S. From the Middle Ages until the 1800s, a married woman's legal identity disappeared into her husband's. That was called coverture. She could not own property, sign contracts, or even control her own wages. In essence, she ceased to exist legally the moment she married. That's why marriage was called the civil death of women. Catholic and Christian influence. In Catholic Europe, marriage was declared a sacrament, indissoluble except by death or annulment granted by the church. This locks women in. Divorce was nearly impossible. Run the hell for the hills if a man tells you, when you're engaged, that when you get married, if you ever try to leave that marriage, he will, you I can't believe I actually had that, like, said to me. Like, wow. Anyways, sorry, side note. The church taught that wives must submit to their husbands as unto God. Priests, bishops, and popes were male, reinforcing that spiritual authority mirrored marital authority. Marital. Yeah, that is marital. Let me start all over. The church taught that wives must submit to their husbands as unto God. Priests, bishops, and popes were male, reinforcing that spiritual authority mirrored marital authority, always male dominated. Even today, many churches still preach male headship subtly or directly, training women to silence themselves inside marriage. Cultural note, marriage was often arranged for land, alliances, or money. Love was a bonus, not the foundation. Women were traded like assets. Patriarchy designed marriage for wealth transfer, not mutual flourishing. Why standards matter in marriage. So why do women need to guard their standards here? Because history shows what happens when they don't. Marriage can either protect a woman or erase her. A prenup is not greed, it's protection against centuries of laws that gave men full power. Wife is the only real title. Girlfriend and fiance don't carry legal or conventional weight. And 50-50 is a trap. It sounds fair, but ignores the unequal labor patriarchy still places on women. Marriage should be the place of deepest protection and partnership, not the place of exploitation. So don't step into marriage blindly. Know the history, see the red flags, honor your biology, your peace, and your legacy. Because a covenant should multiply you, not diminish you. So next we're going to move into parenting. Before I move into the parenting portion, I am going to do some more toxic patriarchal marriage dynamics, conscious and healed dynamics, spiritual insight. So I did add to this a little bit more, so I'm going to try not to repeat myself, but there's important info here. Toxic patriarchal dynamic in marriage. Patriarchy reduced marriage to checklist roles. Man provides, women serves. Unpaid emotional labor falls to women, who are often underappreciated and overworked. Men sometimes think financial provision is enough, which they're not even doing that nowadays, and neglect connection. Story. Man believes paying the bills equals being a good husband. His wife feels lonely and overburdened. Yeah. Anyway, conscious and healed dynamic. Marriage is the only binding title. Polarity matures. He leads with responsibility, financial, emotional, and spiritual. She responds with discernment, stewardship, and multiplication. Both give 100% in the role, not 50-50. So yeah, I'm going to do some toxic masculine, toxic feminine in marriage, and then healthy polarity. And then I'll move on to the parenting. Red flags. Control, toxic masculinity, red flags. Control and dominance rather than loving leadership. Emotional withdrawal or withholding affection. Treating financial contribution as sole measure of husbandhood. Insisting on 50-50 and treating marriage like roommates. Baiting emotional reactions to exert power. Red flags, toxic femininity in marriage. Public belittling or undermining of husband. Withholding intimacy as leverage. And this could be the toxic feminine in the man as well. Withholding intimacy as leverage. Taking on a mother role towards the husband rather than partner. Undermining leadership with passive aggression. Excessive independence used to avoid partnership. Green flags. So don't forget that we all can have toxic masculine and feminine traits, like individually as well as in the dynamic. All right, so green flags, healthy polarity in marriage. He leads with love, integrity, and responsibility. She affirms, multiplies, and stewards the home. Emotional intimacy and honest communication are routine. Decisions are collaborative, but leadership is respected. Both invest fully. Each brings 100% in unique complementary ways. And he protects her emotional peace. He does not feed on drama. All right, so I'm going to take a break. I'm going to stitch these together. Actually, yeah, I'll probably stitch these together. But I'm going to take a quick break, eat a snack, and then I'll be back.